Okay, here we are, episode number 21 of the Soul Rollers Jiu-Jitsu podcast. My name is Jackson Gage. I'm here with William Dennis, and we're here to talk about some more jiu-jitsu life and self-mastery. And the week's gone good. Thank you to everybody who's listening. We appreciate it. Everybody who hit us up to, talk about something that we said during the last podcast or whatever it may be. We appreciate that. We're I mentioned it last week, but we just about got the content ready to start putting up on the IG page, Soul Rollers _JJ. Make sure you follow that. Hit us up with any questions you have, anything that you would, like us to talk about, or any guests maybe that you think would be a good fit for our show. We would appreciate it. So we're trying to create a dialogue with anybody who's listening. So hit us up, and we are very receptive to that. So other than that, there was actually one thought I had real quick that we can kind of start off on is because somebody had mentioned to me like, oh, you guys have a podcast about like PTSD, and he had kind of the wrong idea that was what the podcast was about PTSD and jiu-jitsu. That just happens to be a story that we share that's kind of intertwined with our journey that we've taken into jiu-jitsu. This is not a podcast about PTSD. It's about personal development, personal growth, something that every single one of us are going through, whether we know it or not. And then a lot of us, probably a lot of the listeners, are intentionally going through personal development. And that's kind of what we're talking about. And also, just to clarify, we're both blue belts in jiu-jitsu, and we started this podcast as white belts. We're not claiming to know everything about jiu-jitsu. We really don't even talk about technique on here, much, only to our understanding and our level. But it's done so much for our lives up until this point that we wanted to start sharing it as white belts. And something to think about is, imagine if your professor had documented evergreen content from the time he was a white belt. Would you listen to it, and would it be valuable to you? And that's what we're trying to create for people as we move along on our journey. This is content that'll be there forever. Anybody starting their journey can be like, oh, this guy's, William's been doing jiu-jitsu for 15 years, and he's documented 15 years of his thoughts through the process. What a valuable piece of content here that I believe we're creating, and I don't believe anybody else has done this yet. So I just want to get that across. That's the idea of what we're doing. We're trying to create a very valuable thing here for anybody starting jiu-jitsu and anybody down the path, down the road, wherever you may be, from our level. Again, we're not claiming to be jiu-jitsu experts. We're claiming to be beginners, blue belts, learning and enjoying the fuck out of it as we go. But that's what this is about, documenting our journey, and then trying to inspire anybody around us who may have, a lot of people listening have that, they're working a job that they're not that happy at, and they're doing jiu-jitsu, and it's bringing them into their higher self, and they're finding out who they are, and they have something inside of them that they're passionate about, or some type of art, or some type of creation, or some business idea. And us doing this will hopefully inspire you to go after that thing that you're not going after because you're scared, just to take the baby steps and do it, just like we're doing here. We're showing, from the very gate, growing a podcast and a brand. So that was just on my mind. I was walking my dog. I was like, I got to share this shit real quick, because this is definitely not just a PTSD podcast. You know what I mean?
Well, that goes to anything in life. It's easy to label things, right? But when you label them, you limit them, and it's just like you could label yourself with, oh man, I'm this role because most people ask when they first talk to you, hey, what do you do for a living? Hey, what do you do for a living? That's all they want. It's like, that has nothing to do with who I am, really, and PTSD and jiu-jitsu are paths in life. It's just a path. It's a revelatory path. It reveals you to yourself. It's something that shows you who, so PTSD for us was a path that life kind of led us down, because maybe we were living in incongruence with who we really are. I don't know. Whatever path you decide to go down is because life gives you lessons, and as you don't listen to them, things get harder in life. Sure, people have had those experiences, and sometimes life just throws you something hard, maybe a loss of a loved one or a breakup or something challenging, and it's there to grow you, to teach you something. And that's not just like a toxic positivity kind of mindset. It's like, if you survive the experience, what is it there to teach you or show you or reveal to you about the purpose that you have living in this life? Why are you here? And it's so easy just to label things. These are just PTSD podcast guys, or, oh, well, what do they know about jujitsu? How can they even have a jujitsu podcast? It's just like, what kind of mindset perpetuates that thought, right? And as your thoughts go, so does your life. So stretch beyond labels, stretch beyond judgments, stretch to a possibility mindset. What's available, what's possible for us, right? And like you said, starting from the beginning and really opening yourself up to the possibility of even starting a podcast or doing anything, just self-expression, right? Same thing with jiu-jitsu. It's, what does that feel like when you first start jiu-jitsu? It's so awkward, it's so scary, because you're in that room with people that know what they're doing. They go through the warm-ups and you're like, sorry, I'm in the way. I have people do that all the time when I'm warming up. They're like, oh, here, you go ahead of me, I'm slow. It's like, are you supposed to be fast? What are you trying to do? Like, go, man. Like, I'll be right next to you. I'll bump into you. It's okay. Like, I was right there too. I was bumbling around on there, didn't know what I was doing, and felt ridiculous, but it's amazing when you see a black belt that, takes their time and kind of has patience with you and teaches you something. That's what it's about, and same thing with us. We're really showing up like we did the first day, just first class, open, vulnerable, going for it. And here we are, episode 21. That's a start. It's something, right?
Yep.
And, a year from now, the questions might be different, or the thoughts might be different. This is where we're at. And I'm proud of where we're at and how far we've come. And, shared experience is powerful. It's life-changing. I've learned that through PTSD. That's something that PTSD taught me, because it sent me down a path of self-development, philosophy, psychology, all these different just different studies that I've gone down. I've learned, like, shared experience, when you can relate to someone, when you can hear an experience or a story that someone tells and go, oh, that's me. Like, I've been there. I'm not alone. Like, it's powerful, man. It brings hope. It brings motivation. It brings inspiration. It really lights you up inside, like, as a human being. And we all need that, because we all face challenges. So if it's nothing else besides a shared experience, and that if that's just us stumbling, us struggling, us falling down in jiu-jitsu and trying to get back up, doing it wrong and then redoing it, and trying again, or just saying, don't quit, whatever that shared experience might be, that's valuable, period.
Yeah. And as far as shared experience and sharing your story, that is, everybody has a story. Everybody, if you look into it, you can craft a story from all of your experiences that will affect the people around you, and that will in turn create value for whatever it is that you're doing. Doesn't matter what you're doing, whatever your passion is, whatever you're trying to work on, your business, your art form, whatever it is. I think I think that's a portion that's missed because of ego in a lot of people's journeys, or whatever it is you're working on. The connection with people is the shared experience. It's you sharing your story. For example, I got a buddy who's got a really cool business. I don't want to put him on blast because he's one of the only people I know with this business, and it's an awesome business. It's a great idea, and I think he could kill it with this business. But I can tell he's hesitating to connect his story with the business. He's just talking about the business. But the power is when you start talking about the shit you've been through, vulnerably, and you share it, kind of like we're doing on this podcast. There's no holds barred on this motherfucker. Like, anything, whatever we've been through, we're going to share it. And if we didn't share it and you ask us, we'll tell you, and that's what connects people with it. And it gives people the fire to, like, oh, they've been through shit, they're doing it. But that's just a little piece of advice for anybody, because I know a lot of people are on there, got their side hustle or their, and it's really tying in your personal story to whatever you're doing. And that's where you're going to connect with people, like William said, with your shared experiences, so.
Yeah. I think this is like setting the tone for this podcast. We're going to be all like into it and like intense. I think I just get to feel it. It's like that saying, like all ships rise with the tide, but not the ones that are tied down improperly. Like imagine like you're on the side of the dock, you know how there's like ladders leading down into the water on some of those big piers and stuff. If you went down on that ladder and you're right up to water level and the water starts rising, but you cling onto that ladder and the water keeps rising up above you, it's rising with the tide, right? And you're like, nope, I'm not going to change, I'm not going to relate, I'm not going to connect, I'm not going to share experiences with other people, I'm not going to grow, I'm where I want to be and this is it. That water will pass you up and it will drown you, it will overcome you, right? And that's how life works too. You get yourself around people usually if you're around people that want to grow and push themselves every day, ask more of yourself and you ask more of them and you're pushing each other, man, you can't stay still, you can't stay stuck in the place you are now. Those people would be like, hey, we're going to pass you up, we're going this way, we're not waiting. And you're going to have to change your friends to people that want to stay stuck if that's what you want in life. If all ships rise to the tides, it's like, yeah, the ones that are ready to do that, they're willing to do that. And it would be nice if life just kind of took you and you put no effort into it, right? It would be real nice and easy, you just sat around and all these good things just poured into your life. Actually, it wouldn't be nice because it'd just be bullshit. And
Yeah.
so you really like, you got to see the struggle and the adversity, the as a blessing. It's like, man, you ask more of me every day. Oh, hey, how are we going to do this? Hey, what are we going to do about that? Hey, let's keep going. Let's push. Come on. What are we going to do? We've been doing that for how many years now? And yet we've only been doing this podcast for how many years? So we all struggle with self-expression and putting out our truth, being vulnerable, opening up, because of, judgments or, oh, well, what do you know? Right. So like, yeah, imposter syndrome, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Mhm.
Cool. We actually started this podcast because we didn't know enough. It's like, man, we can't be the only ones that are going, man, we love this, but what are we doing? How do we keep going? How do we make it to black belt? What do we do? Right.
Yeah.
We can't be the
Yeah.
same ones feeling like this. And I'm telling you, the ones that the people I've talked to, like D, he connected with us when he was this episode. He was talking about his son, putting his son in jiu-jitsu and what he experienced with that, which was amazing, you know?
Yeah. Hmm.
And it's like, it's amazing that we can connect with people through our experiences and
Yeah.
it brings you together in a powerful way.
Yeah. And one thing, actually two things that popped in my mind there while you were talking was number one is the on your journey of growth. And you hear this all the time. I don't really like the word, oh, this is, people will say something valuable and they'll preempt it with, this is going to sound cliche. You know what I mean? No, if it's valuable, just fucking say it. Who cares whoever said it before? Just fucking say it, like, you know, on your journey of growth, the one of the most important factors is you are, who you're around, who you put around you, you know, and it comes to a point where, you know, you have to just, you have to kind of distance yourself from the people who aren't going the same place you are, you know. For me personally, I spend the majority, the people around me are the same, are people who are driven and who are building something and who are in personal development and who are have a bigger vision for their life. And those are the people I talk to every day, you know. And if I'm around somebody who starts swaying, getting away from that, then I have to just disconnect from them, because I can't spend my time doing shit that doesn't fucking, you know, move me toward my goals and move me toward my vision for my life, and that's difficult for a lot of people to do that. But that's going to be probably number one. You're a mixture of the five people you spend the most time around, and we've heard that, but maybe people haven't heard that. That's big in personal growth, but people listening may not have heard that. But you become the people that you spend the most time around. So look at those people and see if that's who you want to be. Are they where you want to be? Are they doing the things that you think you should be doing with your life? So that's big. That's something to think about, take note on, and start evaluating your life. And then the second thing you had said was just the fear of starting something new stops people from starting at all. And the fear of failure, or the fear of not working out immediately. And jiu-jitsu teaches us this lesson that you just start something and just take the little steps, and I was talking to a guy. There's a guy in the sauna yesterday, and we were talking, and I think I may have mentioned him before, but he we just got in kind of into a deep conversation, and I was kind of telling him my background and sharing my story with him about being a retired police officer and whatnot. And we got onto the supplement company. And so I started this supplement company, increasenaturals.com, during the pandemic. And that and he ended up telling me like, oh, I want to start a supplement company. But he said for like 2 years, he's just been sitting on the idea of doing it, and he has the money to invest in everything, but he's just not doing it. And jujitsu has been huge in teaching me and helping me with the idea of this business, because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I did all this work to create a product, worked with the manufacturers, created the labels, created this shit is hours and hours of work to have a product. And then now you got to figure out a way to get it to people. And it's easy to quit something, but the fact that you get started is the most, taking action is the powerful portion of anything that you're trying to do. Take action, start the business. I got the business going now. Okay, little steps. I'm a white belt, little steps to get where I'm going. I got it up. It's on Amazon, increasenaturals.com. It's an immunity blend. Okay, we got that. What are the next steps? And we just keep moving, So the whole point of all that stuff I just said was just, you know, whatever it is you want to do, just start that shit. You don't have to have it figured out. You don't have to have anyone liking it. You don't have to have anyone around you telling you to do it, encouraging you, clapping for you and shit. You just got to start taking the steps toward it, to start creating the daily life that you want for yourself, from morning till night, doing the shit that you want to do, not spending 8 hours doing shit you don't want to do, not coming home to somebody that you don't really like, set up a life where everything makes you happy from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, and there will be struggles, but man, you only live one time. You should be doing what you want every day. That's freedom. So anyhow, yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts on those things.
I mean, that stuff's important. And I think for me, it's, like jujitsu. What would you do if you knew you're going to fail? Would you still do that thing? Jiu-jitsu is like, oh no, I guarantee you're going to fail millions of times by the time you get to blue belt or black belt. You're not going to be able to just every day you go there, you're just doing everything perfect every day. Like you literally have to fail every day to grow. Like that's the most I've grown in jiu-jitsu so far has been getting my butt kicked when I go and roll with the higher belts. Like, what was that? Like, how did you even do that? And they're like, oh, I just did this. Right? What? I didn't even know you could do that. Like, I didn't even know that was like an option. Like my coach is always showing me stuff where I'm like, what? How long have I been doing this? I didn't even know I could grab the arm like that. What have I been doing this whole time? He's like, oh, it's just how you learn. I'm like, oh my gosh. So like jiu-jitsu is about failing. It's about struggling. And I guarantee you anything even the things you're passionate about, the thing that is your absolute life's calling, you're going to fail. Yep. I don't know if that's like what holds people back. Like, oh, what if I fail? No. I'm telling you, you're going to fail. That's the whole point.
And then after you fail, you're going to fail again. Go ahead.
Yeah. It's just continuing to fail. It's the whole point. Like, and that's the way that I've failed at getting an armbar so many times that I can actually try and get one now. Like I needed to fail so many more times. Like at my triangle, every time I mess it up, I'm like, okay, I failed. Why? What is going on? What is my position? Why am I off? And that's the same thing with life. It's like we want to eliminate struggle. We want to eliminate hardship. We want to eliminate failure. Okay, then you're also eliminating your experience of joy. You're eliminating your ability to grow. You're eliminating, so much that's valuable about the journey. You're just waiting for the result. And without those life experiences, those human experiences first, the starting point and throughout the journey, you don't get the outcome you want. But it's like, where are you willing to put your time? Like anything you decide, the desire you have to do jiu-jitsu, the desire you have to start your own business or company, the desire you have to, reach out and be of service to others in some form or fashion. Like, why is that your desire? What is that? And a lot of times it's like I saw that quote today, that Jim Carrey quote. It's like, I wish everyone could like make all the money and all their dreams could come true and they could realize it's not the answer. Right? You remember that quote?
Yeah, that's a great quote.
And it's like, well, if that isn't the answer and that's what society says, this is the answer. Just go be famous. Like, if that's not the answer, why don't we ask better questions?
Yeah.
Like, what are you willing to do even in the face of adversity? What are you willing to continue to work at when you fail repeatedly?
Yeah. And I think that's where because we talk about like self-love and how much do you love yourself? And I think when you start really loving yourself, you start realizing, man, I'm not doing these things. I'm not doing these things to make money. Like doing, look at, I'm not doing jujitsu, and jujitsu has really been a, metaphorical teaching for all these things, man. It crosses right over. I'm not doing jujitsu to make money. I'm doing it because of who it's forging me into, you know. And then you take that mindset and you just place it over into any other endeavor that you're taking on in life, like these supplements. Just as an example, this I'm doing that not because I want to make money selling supplements. It's because, can I build a company? Who will I become in the multiple failures that it takes to build this into something successful? I know I can succeed, at anything that I do. Right. I understand that. But who am I going to become? I love myself so much that I want to keep becoming greater as I move along. And the way I become greater as I move along is take on challenges that most people won't, like jujitsu or building a company. Who can we become in that process? Right now, because everything that you begin, you know, you will, as long as you keep going, you'll become successful, you know, at it. You just have to be able to take the knocks and the bumps and the bruises and figure out the puzzles and the Rubik's cube and you know, and just figure it out as you move along. But do you love yourself enough to do that? And do you understand that it's not about the external validation and it's not about the accolades, which we've talked about before? It's about who you become while you overcome failure repeatedly, you know, which
Yeah.
forges you into who you're meant to be.
And that's like, self-love is kind of cute and cuddly of a term, you're right. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, like self-love. It's so cool. Like it's so nice. But the truth of it is like self-love means loving the parts that you did, like that disgust you about yourself. Wait,
Yeah.
what? Like, yeah, when you fail, like when you get frustrated, when you, like the other day I was cooking, here's a failure. Big deal, right? Watch, this is vulnerable. I was cooking hamburgers for my family on the barbecue, and I'm trying to do it like this new way, like this smoking and like really cool stuff. And I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I just got this awesome grill for my birthday, and I'm like trying it out and doing new things. But I messed up on one of the hamburgers. I didn't cook it correctly. And I just got really frustrated with myself. Like, dang it. Like I really wanted to do it right. Right. Like I wanted to do it right. I wanted my stepson to enjoy it and fucked it up. And so I'm like frustrated myself. And my wife's like, hey, it's no big deal. Like I'll just cook it over here real quick and done. And I was just like, dang it. Like I know it's not a big deal, but I'm like frustrated with myself. And I get this isn't like life-changing experience here, but come on, shared experience. I'm sure someone fucked up a hamburger before.
Yeah.
Um, but I was frustrated with myself. Like I was really frustrated with myself. And it's the same thing in jujitsu. There's like been times where I didn't get a position I was trying to get, or none of the roles worked. Like they just didn't work. Like I was just getting slapped around. I'm like, dang it, man. Like just I couldn't get to a dominant position. I couldn't, escape. I was just getting mauled the whole time. I'm like, today just sucked. My coach was like, hey, your worst days are your best. And I'm like, what? Like that doesn't even make sense. Like if it's the worst, it has to be the worst, right? But the worst aspects of us, the most flawed humanistic aspects of us are our best parts. They're the most vulnerable parts. They're the most relatable parts of us. And as you and I have grown as brothers and friends, we've opened up more and more and more as we shared challenging fucking experiences together. Like we've been through some serious shit together. Like I've gotten late night phone calls from you. I've given you late night phone calls. We've talked each other off a ledge. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, pretty
really
much.
difficult shit. It's like, why is that stuff present in our lives if not to grow us, if not to change us? Self-love isn't about the soft, cuddly stuff. It's about the bullshit that you fucking hate about yourself. Like me and you were talking about discipline the other day. Or you're saying, like, I really want to be more disciplined, right? What are you doing every day? Tell me what you do daily, and I'll tell you the outcome of your life, like what your life's going to become. But don't tell me what you do every once in a while. I don't give a fuck about that, because it's all bullshit. Like I told you today, like, I'm going to go take a cold shower. What am I doing daily? Like, I recently, like this week has sucked for me. I like pulled a muscle in my back, and, it's, like I have, D always pushing me to stretch every day. You talk about stretching all the time, and am I doing it? No. And I was talking to Daniel when I was at class yesterday. He was like, dude, his fiance is a yoga instructor. So she's always encouraging him to stretch, right? Of course. And it's like, why the hell aren't we doing this? Why aren't we listening? That's self-love. What is it that you don't like about yourself? That's the part you got to love. You want to just ignore, you hate, you want to totally dismiss. You don't even want to act like it's a part of you. You want to just totally disown it. Right. And most of the time that comes up when you're sucking at something. Go do jujitsu. Your first class, you are going to suck so bad. You're going to look so stupid. Like, I literally remember like shrimping, like, what the fuck? Like, I remember looking up shrimping on YouTube. Like, what is this? I remember looking up on YouTube, how do I tie my belt? Because I didn't want to tie my belt like a piece of shit. I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I'm nervous about everything. But you and me have been able to kind of support each other as we go through this process of sucking and go, hey, man, yeah, I suck too. It's all right. Relatable, right? We've shared this experience of suck.
Yeah.
It's much more enjoyable to swim across the lake of misery when you got other, brothers right next to you going, hey, this fucking sucks. Let's keep going. Like we're almost there. Let's go. Come on. Let's go. Like life requires, there's at least 50% of life that's going to suck. Even when you have all the money you've ever wanted, the woman or man you want or whatever, like you have all that shit, that material bullshit. Life's still going to suck because you're a human and it's supposed to. What are you going to do with it? That's what matters.
Yep.
Love that. Love to suck.
Yeah. And you can minimize the suck as you move along, as you put yourself through more and more challenges, and you start to realize that the challenges are forging you. You know what I mean? And you get to a point where you can, what do you think the percentage of people are in the world, in the United States, wherever, I won't say the world, let's say the United States, because we live in a certain culture here of fucking, where we've been, domesticated and propagated to live a certain lifestyle. From the time we're born, for years we've been told that life is going to college, getting a job, getting married, and that's what they want us to do. That's what they want the peasants. That's the peasant life they want us to set up. Get an 8-hour job. We'll teach you how to fucking do something you hate by sending you to public school for 6 hours a day. I don't know many kids who are like, fuck yeah, fucking 6 hours a day in school. I love this shit, but they're learning what their conditioning is. Because public school, I'm getting off topic here, but public school system was, that's okay, this is the topic. Public school system was set up to initially to make better employees. Let's get these employees educated. Instead of hiring these uneducated people, let's create a system. So what's happening is they're going to school each day to learn how to be employees 5 days a week, doing some shit they don't want to do, so they can go to college and do the same thing and go work for some rich motherfucker, for some system, for some corporation. And I got so far off into that I lost the topic of what I was initially talking about, but I had a really good point and I want to remember what the fuck it was.
You're ready to slap a school teacher or something.
Yeah.
Go roll with some school teachers.
Let me think about that, because I had a point I wanted to get to, but I really forgot what it was.
Well, like what I was talking about was, like the suck, like really self-love and learning how to love yourself.
Oh, I remember. Hold on, before I forget. How many people are setting up? There's just a question I just want to pose. What percentage of people have worked to a point where they've set up a life where it's probably a small percentage. There's people out there, but have set up a life where they do what they want from the time they wake up to the time they go to bed. Not having to do with money, not having to do with any of that, but they've set up a life and they've grown themselves to a point where everything in their life is lined up. which is a complete possibility. That's possible, but we haven't been taught from a young age how to do that. And that's where I was going with that. We haven't been taught to do that. We've been taught to set up a life that fits that caters to the system, right? So let's domesticate the minds of these peasants to cater to the system in their life, do things they don't. I remember when I was going to college, at that point in my life, and I had no clue why I was going, only that society was telling me to go and everyone around me was telling me to go, and that's what I've been told my whole life. You should do this, and and I don't know. There's a lot of people doing what they love, but not a fucking huge percentage. There's not most people I know are like, man, I got to get out of this job. I got to do some shit I want to do. I wish I was traveling, but we're not taught
Yeah.
that from a young age. We're
Well,
taught to fucking set up lives that we don't really like. I got married because I got married because society told me to get married 100%. I got married because, and I see that's why a lot of marriages fail, man, because we're not taught really about the spiritual connection between people, and we're not, in our society, we're not taught about those things. We're taught from and Coot Blackson detailed this really good in his book that he recently wrote, and I'm going to interview him on my other podcast, but he just talks about how from a young age where it's propagated into our mind to get into the importance of being in a relationship, so a lot of times people will find themselves in relationships that they don't want to be in because it's the thing to do. I don't want to be alone. Society says not to be alone. It's, and I don't know if people can, back to my question, there's a lot of people with that. It's self-love, right? You don't have enough self-love. We don't have enough self-love to create the life that we want. So we depend on these outside things, like these relationships that fulfill us, we think are going to fulfill us, or these jobs that we think is going to make everyone around us happy. And then we find ourselves looking around like, fuck, this isn't any of the shit I wanted to do with my life. How am I here? And then the thing is, do you love yourself enough to take the steps to create the life that you want? This goes off of what you were saying, that life is going to suck. I think it'll suck into a point, but you can get to a point where you're creating a life. My life sucks a lot less than it has for most of my life, from my adult life. Right now, I've created a life where I do the shit I want to do all day. I'm not connected to anybody I don't want to be connected to. I eat what I want. I don't have a lot of shitty circumstances in my life. You know what I mean? Other than the things that I battle within, and as I battle those things, my life around me continues to get better. So
yeah, but the suck doesn't disappear. It's just the suck that you've chosen to interact with. It's different kind of sucking, right? It's not like society's like conditioned sucking that you're describing. Because, and even that, I don't believe that society's, there's a boogeyman hiding in the government or something that just like just secretly, like in the movies, like there's just some secret rich guy just manipulating. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, I just don't subscribe to that stuff, but I do think that these mechanisms that society put in place were probably necessary at one point in time, and we've outgrown the necessary like function of them to we have so much abundance in our country that the excess has just kind of thrown us off track. We've lost track on the whole point to the whole like creation of this system. Like why we're trying to give ourselves the ability to be free from the basic worries of most of the world, right? How do we eat? Where do we get food? Oh my gosh, where do we live? All these things are done, checked off. We're safe. We got this figured out, but now we're in such excess, we just become obese and we don't even know what to do with ourselves, right? Our habits have gone in such a way that thrown us off. And I think the government, because it's a man-made system, is just as susceptible to that as we are. We could easily fall into our, comfort zones, just like the government has and business can, and I think that's the boogeyman in the corner that, everyone wants it to be some tangible bad guy that they can point a finger at. But at the end of the day, we're all responsible for our own lives, and we're responsible for the systems that we, perpetuate. So when we create habits that like the government and the function of it, we lead ourselves down a bad path when we seek, excess all the time. That's what you get. You know, we could improve the systems that are in place now, but no one wants to take responsibility. And until we do that, not much is going to change. So we can all get upset about it and blame some freaking rich guy in the corner, and like he has some dark cloud over the world and he's taken over the world. And you know,
Mr.
but
Burns.
at the end of the
Mhm.
day, it's we're our own worst enemies if we're not taking care of ourselves. So you know, to get back to self-love and all this stuff like we're talking about, like even with the relationships or all this stuff, medicine at the wrong dose becomes poison. You know, what are we using it for? Are we using it to avoid our truth? Are we avoiding what sucks inside of us? Self-awareness is the first step. I had to do a lot of self-awareness, a lot of checking in on the bullshit that I had created in my life once I stepped into PTSD. I had to face a lot of my own shortcomings. I struggled so much that I couldn't even remember to drink water throughout the day. That's how bad I was struggling. Like I had to make it. My first habit was just to consume a certain amount of water every single day. That was a struggle for me. You know, that's
Yeah.
how bad the stress and this overwhelm and this self-hatred and self-deprecation could get. Right? I was living such an unhealthy lifestyle in a career that I'd always dreamed of, my dream job,
Mhm.
that I destroyed my life and nearly killed myself. We can do that in any form or fashion. You can do that in anything. In a marriage, you could do that. But what these systems are put in place for are not to give you some avoidance from your truth and your work that needs to be done. There's always, if I run out of things that suck in my life, I'm going to go find some that I voluntarily look for and live into to create hardship in my life. Hardship creates contrast. You need contrast, duality. You know, that's why we're here. You know, we can't just coast through life. You have to have hardship, and the hardship, the healing, the growth, relationships, all it does is a mirror reflecting back that the big things that suck in your life, the things you're not doing, what you're not living into, how you're not being responsible for your shit. And then there's some things that are really great about you that you're also not taking responsibility for or living into that it can reveal. Or maybe you are. It'll point out, hey, you have some great friendships. You have a great, you know, partner in your life. You have wonderful kids. There's things to be grateful for. At the same time, there's also things that you need to be called for. Hey, you're not doing enough in your marriage. Hey, you could be doing more in your business. Hey, you need to show up and really give more commitment. You're not showing up. I'm holding you accountable. You're my brother, right? We need to be doing that. Ask more of yourself, ask more of those around you so that you can all get better, right? And that's what is naturally built into jujitsu. It's what we were talking about the other day. It has goals laid out for you. It has a natural state of suck that's going to always be there, even when you're a black belt. What the hell? Like, you think it's over when you're a black belt? No, you're like just getting started. You know, it has, you know, mentors in built in the system. It has like peers around you that are pushing you and asking you to be better and push yourself to be more. And you give that, and you do that with your peers. You push each other, and then you go to people that are behind you in the journey that don't know anything, that aren't at your level, and you call them to be better. Right? It has all this naturally built into it. That is what's missing from our day-to-day life. That's why our country's in the state that it's in. It isn't secret conspiracy theorists that are running around tricking people and tracking them with secret chips in their skin and stuff. It's like, you know, or sprinkling dust throughout the sky or something and it's falling on you and it's a mind control device. Like, I don't believe any of that crap. I just believe that all of us are trying not to be responsible for our own shit. I don't want shit. There's time, like I just told you today. I don't want to stretch today. How stupid is that? I know it's going to cause me to get injured. I'm
Yeah.
going to jujitsu. I'm going to keep going.
I have a
Why
thought
won't I
real quick
stretch?
before I forget. Um, and also just the complacency that's you have so many people you hear all the time that the amount of people who are depressed or unhappy, you know, and it's because they're not going after the things that challenge them that suck. You know, you get to a point, like for me, I get to a point now, it doesn't, when I'm doing like, I really want to jump rope today. I've been jumping rope and it's hard as fuck, but I want to do it because I feel good afterward. You know what I mean? So it's not really a suck. It's a challenge to make myself feel good. It's like a fucking, you know, it's, you know, we go after the things we want to go after. We go after, you know, you good?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. I saw you doing this. Um, but I lost my thought. Um,
Well, with like, you got to understand what I'm saying, that like 50% of life is going to suck always. Like, the more, like, it's like what I was telling you earlier this morning. I had that coffee. We, you know, how we send messages. It's like in the morning time, me and you wake up fucking, like, we get ourselves pumped up and we start talking about some inspirational shit. You know, kind of like this podcast is starting to take the form and fashion of that talk. But it's like, what do you want? Like, what do you want in your life? You know, like, even with jujitsu, what do you want? Why are you doing jujitsu? What do you want? If it's maybe to be a purple belt, to be a brown belt, to be a black belt, that's so scary to me. Like, I saw a post the other day of that Rafe Lovato Jr. I don't know
yeah,
his first name. Um, he was a Bellator MMA fighter too.
yeah,
And he had a picture of him and his dad as purple belts. And it was like a old ass photo. It was like, what the hell? Like, they look old. And so that was years ago, right? And I'm like, dang, they just been doing the thing. And like, he's still competing. He's doing all kinds of stuff. He opened his own school. And it's like 15, 20 years later. And so I'm like, dang, so 20 years from now, are we going to have the same energy on this jujitsu journey, right? Like, what is that? Like, they created this lifetime journey of just continuous growth with no finish line. Like, it's not like they're not working as hard as they were when they're purple belts. Like, they're still working hard. They're still growing. They're still learning. There's probably things that they're still challenged by. They're still struggling with. Like, it's guaranteed that you're 50% of it's going to suck. It's just like, what kind of suck is it? Is it suck that's taking you towards things you want, or the suck that's just depressing you and making you suffer and just feeling shitty about yourself? Why do we allow ourselves to get stuck into suck that isn't working for us? It's not adversity. It's not challenge that's taking us where we want to go, you know? And that's what matters. That's what it's like, well, wait a minute. When I live by the society standards, or one thing that really happened that's most relatable for me is, I had a group of friends and I would always imagine, like, who do they want me to date? Who do they want me to be with? Who do they, and you know, my dating relationships in the past, and the way in which they played out. So, not the best standard in which to try to find a partner, right? It's a very weird, codependent, like, lost way of looking for love and growth and relationship and all that. And so when I finally stopped doing that and I started checking in with myself and digging in deep for me, I'm like, okay, what do I want? Regardless of what anyone else thinks, whether they approve or disapprove or don't like my attraction to a certain type, or my choice in a partner, what do I want at the end of the day? Because that's what matters most. Because I'm the one going to be with this person. Just like my love for jujitsu, I'm not asking anyone else to do it. I'm just sharing my love for it and the impact it's having on me. And if you relate to that, or that's a shared experience that you get to live into or experience, or feel, then there's something there you want to dig into a little deeper. But for me, when I realized that I've never actually said what I want, I've never truly expressed my desire to be with a certain person in a certain way, with a certain connection. I've never really expressed myself through martial arts, right? I've never really dug out that potential of what that could be. And now I'm seeing that every day. And just the other day, I had someone come up to me like, man, you were one of my toughest roles. And I'm like, what? Like, how is it even possible? Like, me? So I'm
hmm
still doubting myself to this day. And I have the most beautiful wife I could ever dream of. And yet I'm like, what? How does that work? You know, I still have my shit come up. You know what I mean?
yeah.
We all have our
What do I want? Yeah, that's the
what? Yeah.
question that
How
that's the
scary is
question
that
that
to ask?
that's a question that most people don't really ask themselves, and that's what I was thinking, and what it gets back to with
Yep.
when we just kind of let life take the lead and let society take the lead, and then we end up, you get people ending up like, okay, well, I got married, I got this job, I finished college and I'm working this job, and I got this house that looks like everyone else's, and I got a nice car that might impress nobody, you know. And and then they look around and they're like, wait a minute, society has led me astray, I am unhappy. Boom, that is the worst fucking position you can be in, building a life you don't want. And that's a majority of people do that unknowingly, walking through life as zombies, just asleep. And then you get to a point where you have to reverse, you have to, if you want to find the happiness you're looking for that you never really went after, you never asked yourself what you wanted, you know then becomes the real work. You can either spend the rest of your life unhappy and die and see what happens after life, and hope that fucking works out for you, or you have to start taking the steps to every day asking yourself, what do I want in this situation? What makes me happy? How am I going to be happy? That means losing relationships. That means losing jobs. That means losing the fucking nice car you're paying a bunch of money for each month that no one gives a fuck about, you know, except you when you first bought it. And then a month later, you're mad because you're making the goddamn payment on some shit no one gives a fuck about, you know. Same with the houses, you know, it's everyone's trying to impress everyone around them at the expense of their own happiness. And
Well,
I think when you start asking yourself, you know, what do I want? And then you start taking the steps, and that's when the real challenges of life come. Those when the true challenges of life come, you know, because then you got to sit with yourself. Then you start finding out who you are. Then, you know, and that can be a lifelong journey, but that's the part that's worth it. That's, you know, that's sometimes your life gets blown up, man. Sometimes your whole life gets blown up because you've decided to be happy within yourself. And then all of the fake, you know, all of the mirage that you've created around yourself starts to disappear because that isn't your true happiness. And I think, you know, a lot of people are probably scared to take that journey. But for some strange reason, jujitsu will, you know, get yourself in jujitsu and your life around you will start becoming the life that you want. I don't know what the fuck it is about the magic of doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but as you do it, you start seeing the grid fill in for the vision that you have for your life.
yeah.
And you know,
Well, it's like what you're saying. It's, you know, life, I don't think misleads us, or society doesn't. It's providing an option. There's many options out there. You can listen to what other people say you should do, or you can go down the other path, which is one of, it's like the way you describe the belts, right? Like it's a container. And once you get to the level of blue belt, you're like in the doorway, the threshold of that container. And now every step through that threshold is a new uncertain step. You're creating it as you go. It's the same thing with your life. You create your life as you go forward.
but who people don't know that. People don't know
Oh,
that.
of course
So
not.
you got to think like I do believe life leads you in a certain direction because from the time you're a kid, the people that are raising you, your teachers, your preachers, the propaganda is real. That's not a conspiracy. You know, propaganda is 100% real. You know, like there is stuff put into the media to mold the minds of the people watching it by the United States government. You know, that's real. From the time kids are little, they're getting their mind molded to take a certain path. You know, your parents' path. They're going to tell you what they know to their level of experience. You get teachers telling you shit. You get friends telling you shit. And this is from the time you're a baby. Right when you're born, your parents are fucking leading you on a certain path by telling you what they think reality is for the most part, you know. And so then you come to a point where you've been led mentally by all these messages and stories that have been told to you. And at some point you realize it. And that's when you got to start figuring out, okay, I got to create my own life. I got to create. And there's people that never do, man. We have tons of people in this world who are walking along just being, you know, just living. They're not creating the life that they want. They're just living life, you know, and in a place of it with visions in the back of their mind of I wish I was traveling the world. I wish I had my own company. I wish I was in better shape. I wish I was in love. I wish I had a better life, you know. um Instead of and then what follows that is but this is my life and this is where I am and I'm okay. I just, you know, maybe later, maybe this will happen to me. They're waiting for some fucking lottery of life to hit them. You know what I mean? And um, so yeah, I do believe that from a young age you are led unconsciously in a certain direction, you
Yeah, of
know, and
course.
it takes it
But that's
takes
contrast, right? That's life giving you contrast. Life gives you contrast so that you can begin to develop your own meaning, that you can begin to take your own path. Because when does it become your life? I remember walking and just thinking about this, like, when am I going to be able to live my life where it's not influenced by my past, where I don't have to struggle because of my past that I grew up in? When is that not going to define me anymore? That's a very powerful question to ask.
yeah.
You know, and it just like with jujitsu, when am I not going to just be caught in a freaking triangle every single day? When is that going to stop? When is it? It's when you take the initiative, when you do something to go down a different path, a path of uncertainty, a path of failure, a path of struggle, a path of difficulty. That's when you
Yeah.
have to begin to heal. You have to begin to change. You have to take the contrast, see it for what it is. How have I contributed to this struggle? Passing the buck on someone else and saying, oh, well, yeah, life or society led me astray. Sure. But you have to have a willingness, a participation in that for that to be. There's blame versus contribution. What is your contribution to this difficulty?
Yeah. Well,
That's where you
you know the
empower
answers
yourself.
though. You know what I mean? You know the answers. You're a small percentage of person who's put a lot of time into understanding the answers, and that's good because that's why any content I create is on this message right here, whether it's a podcast, a post, is to try to encourage the people around me to ask themselves what they want and to let them know that you can create whatever the fuck you want, and you can create from this moment. The past no longer exists. This moment is all we have. The future is just your canvas. You
Well,
understand that.
it's
I
just like
understand that. You understand that. But
it's
there's
just
people
like
who go
when
their whole life without that understanding. You know what I mean? There's people that will walk along the path of life and never create the life that they want. There's millions of those motherfuckers. You know what I mean?
well, I mean, it's just like when a black belt tells you, yeah, you can get there, you can become a black belt. You're like, huh? How? Right? It's the same feeling. And the thing that isn't said about this creating this life of your desires, your freedom, and oh, be retired. People have come up to me like, oh, it must be nice. You're retired at a young age. Have you ever fucking done that? It's fucking overwhelming. It's terrifying. Like I retired at like 30. Like I was 30 years ahead of retiring when I thought I was going to retire. That's terrifying. So there's suck even in creating the life you want. And that's the truth that no one really talks about. You get motivational speakers that tell people to like go out and chase your dreams and everything. And they make it sound so beautiful that they leave out the part of it's going to suck too. And that's awesome. Like what good would jujitsu be if it didn't have the suck in it? If it didn't have, rubbing your freaking ears off, if it didn't have the discomfort, hurting yourself and having to love yourself through your injuries or whatever it takes, like the failures through trying to get the sweep or trying to learn half guard. Like there's suck in everything you're going to do. Don't leave that out. Yes, it's inspiring, it's exciting, and it's encouraging to create the life you want. And one thing that I think about like business and capitalism that's beautiful, that isn't propaganda, that is it allows for people to live into that creation, that life that they desire. There's a guy that he's a very good blue belt. He's really good. You roll with him. They call him the Bug Man. And Bobby, he has his own pest control service. Amazing dude, living a wonderful life. You can tell he has like done a lot of self-development. Just it comes through the way he promotes his business on social media, everything. Really great guy, super awesome. Like he posted about wanting to hire someone, and it was like, I wanted to go work for him just because it was inspiring. What he was asking of, if you want to work here, this is what I want. I was like, man, sign me up. I want to go do it. He sounds like an awesome dude. And I like told him that when I was on the mats with him. I'm like, dude, like that was so inspiring. The more people that are living their life the way you are, that are inspiring and doing like what they love, like he is, and he's very successful. There's a reason for that, because he's doing what he loves. There's struggles that come with business. I guarantee you that he's struggled through business and everything else, but he's taken it in stride, and it's been that contrast has been valuable to get him where he's at. So it's really about like, it's not about having answers, because I still feel like I have no answers. I just ask more and more and more questions. I'm just more curious than I've ever been. Right? It's just the same thing with jujitsu. It's like, dang, that doesn't work. Why? What is going on here? And that's what's beautiful about jujitsu is it's not about right or wrong. It's about, does it work for you? What works for you? And that's what I'm saying. It's shared experience. It doesn't mean everything I say is going to fit you to a T. Take what works, what makes sense to you, apply that, get rid of the rest of the shit that means nothing to you, that the things that I do. Cold showers won't work for some people. Stretching won't work for some people. Supplements and building businesses like you're doing may not work for them, but maybe they could be like in love with their job. And it doesn't have to be like a propagandist, like brainwashing them. It could just be like they love going to work and they train jiu-jitsu and they have the best marriage ever now, finally, because they started putting in their time and the discipline and personal development and applying it to the life that they have now. We're not saying everyone has to be an entrepreneur and do podcasting. You know, we're just saying what works for you. Apply these things that work for us if they work for you, and just start taking little things from each person and building a life that you want. But don't do it to escape difficulty. It's not going to work. Life is always going to suck. There's 50% of life that's just going to suck. Bad shit's going to happen in the world, and it's going to be depressing. And that's why you should feel sadness. You should feel all these. Most of the time we avoid feeling sad or depressed or all these things. If it wasn't meant to be felt, it wouldn't be in our life. It's meant to be felt, so stop trying not to be a human or avoiding the human experience, because without contrast, you don't get the full experience.
Yeah. And it's like you said, what the question that we're talking about is, what do I want? It doesn't matter what it is, everyone's going to want different shit. It's just, it's the fact that you're asking yourself that question, what do I want, and where am I going? And whether it's your job or your business that you're starting or whatever it may be, that guy seems like the guy you mentioned, just as an example, he seems like he enjoys he has a successful business because he enjoys, that's what he likes doing, and he's good at it, and so, I mean, it's really just figuring out what type of life you want, and then creating it. It's not, and of course that's never going to be easy, especially if you've built a life you don't want and you got to reverse. That's not easy. But I mean, you only live one time on this earth, so it's really imperative that you answer that question. What do I want from life? What do I want to create? Who do I want to serve? What type of value do I want to bring? What do I want people to remember about me? What am I going to leave here we're all creators. What am I leaving here? What type of legacy am I leaving in one form or another? Is it how I treat people? Is it some evergreen content that people can use forever? What is it? It can be a million things, but we're really here to just ask ourselves that question. What do I want, and how can I serve, and
that's
move along from there?
Like, that's the context of why this podcast is happening, right? We started with Jiu-Jitsu and we started noticing things about each other. Like, wait a minute, dude, like, man, you keep showing up. Things are really hard. Man, you're really working through this injury. Why are you keep trying? You could have given up on jiu-jitsu long ago for good reasons, right? You can justify why you can't go to jiu-jitsu, right? With your injuries and the length of time you had to be out and try to get yourself healthy. You put a lot of effort to be able to go, right? So we can justify why we can't do something, but we can sit there and we can work towards, okay, like, this is what jiu-jitsu is showing me, and this is what I need to improve, change, bring more of into my life. Same thing with this podcast is like, dang, like, what does this require of us to change about our lives to create the life we want, right? If we want to make time for you and I to do this, we have to change things. We have to sacrifice things. We have to go through certain things in our life to create a lifestyle that we want. Just make sure it's what you truly want, right? And that's scary, because that's when all the society stuff comes in, right? Like, oh, you're selfish, you're not doing, what's better for society or whatever, all that stuff might come in, or judgments from your friends and family who know you to be different, right? They know the person that you were before, not the person you're becoming. And so they may judge you based on an old projection of who you were, right? Oh, you're not the cop anymore. Why are you acting? Why are you a podcaster? What are you doing? You used to be a cop, right?
Yeah.
That's where it gets scary. And that's why jiu-jitsu is a sacred ground, right? You don't take that baggage with you. You go there as your belt color, right? And you just go there as a shared experience.
Dude, that made me think that and that's one reason too why, we're part of this tribe, and a lot of people switching paths or becoming a higher version of yourself where the people around you aren't taking any steps for growth, but you are. That can be difficult because you feel like the people around you are questioning you or judging you or whatever it may be. And sometimes people don't even try fucking leaving the police department, and the next thing you do is fucking recording a hip-hop album and performing that motherfucker. Bro, that's what I did. And I got so many calls. I didn't even work at the police department anymore, but fucking, you would be surprised how many motherfuckers there who never talked to me all knew I was creating a hip hop, I was rapping,
What did I say when I text you?
Fuck, you loved it. Yeah. You loved it.
People that work harder than you are never going to be the ones that put you down.
Yeah, exactly. People who, the people who are growing as well will never put you down. Successful people Successful people are the people who are growing, and they're never going to put you down. It's the people who are stuck, the crabs in the bucket who want to pull you back down. They're the ones who are going to talk shit amongst themselves because they're stuck, and they see you growing, and it bothers, it triggers something primal inside of them. It triggers something inside of them where they're like, fuck, I wish I was growing. Instead of growing, I'm just going to go, group up with some other people who are fucking stuck in this bucket, and we're just going to talk shit to make ourselves feel better, you know. But that's a great point, man. The people who are successful and who are moving along on the path, they're never going to talk shit. And that's why like jiu-jitsu is such a powerful community, because everybody there is working on goals every day. No matter what, you're all working on a goal of getting better. We all suck at jiu-jitsu, and we're all getting a little bit better. We all suck at different levels,
Yep.
and we're all working on it together. So there's no judgment there. It's just a brotherhood. And I love that shit. And also, we're gonna, just on another topic, we won't do it today, but we'll have to, um the CIA created the word conspiracy theorist to alienate people who told stories that were outside of the narrative. So we're gonna have to, that's, so me and William shared his idea on that. I like to look outside of the box on a lot of the shit going on, so we can have good conversations about that. But I don't want to
We're
go
gonna
deep
have to
into
have
it
like
today.
a conspiracy theory episode. Like we'll label. We got to find. Maybe there's someone in one of our academies that like loves conspiracy theories. I got to like check if any of the guys are into it. If you're into that and you hear this, like hit us up. We'll have you on and we'll talk about it, dude. I am not into that stuff. It's just not my forte. So it's just like I love close guard, and some people may not, right? Like
Yeah.
it's just whatever is your forte. I'm not against you. I'm not going to be angry at you. I knew like just sharing that. I like to poke at you with your conspiracy theories. I love it.
Well,
So I knew
what about the
pump
fact
you
that
up.
now the government is, this is just one question. Like 10 years ago, talking about aliens is conspiracy. Now the government is saying they've been studying fucking alien crafts that have been landing on the fucking earth. You know what I mean? That's an example of something that would have been because a lot of these things that are conspiracies, eventually they come out and they're like, oh fuck, that wasn't a conspiracy. That was just some real shit. Because you got to think, man, we're just the we're just the fucking peasants living our life here, creating fucking revenue. We're just here working. We work. We just put in work. We don't know. We got to think outside of what we've been told in every situation. That's just my
Oh
view.
yeah.
But I'd like to get a guy who knows a lot about a lot of these topics, that we can just get on here and discuss those things, because they're interesting, and we'll come from different angles.
That we'll have
With
to do
that.
that one like Halloween or something. We'll do a Halloween episode of like conspiracy theories or something.
We could. Why is it got to be Halloween though?
Dude, because I think that one's the most like jank holiday too. It's just like let's all dress up and act silly and just like whatever. Like it's just silliness. But like I
Oh
said,
yeah,
I
the
enjoy.
holidays. Okay, well, here's a conspiracy for
See,
you.
here we go.
This isn't a conspiracy, but this is just outside of the box, right? Look, and you can look around and see the peasantry, man. Like, bro, holidays. There's a holiday almost every month, and they generate billions of dollars. If you want people to you want the peasants to spend the money that you're giving them and give it back to you, you just make a holiday, and people will see, oh, it's a holiday. How much money can we go spend? Let's go buy a bunch of orange and black shit for our house. It's Halloween time. No, it's fucking Valentine's Day. There was like $43 billion, some crazy $1 billion last Valentine's Day, that people spent because it was time to, oh, Valentine's Day is coming up. Let's go spend money. And then there's birthdays. You got to fucking go out. Birthdays are here. You don't think that's fucking generated? Like birthdays, you know what I mean? People, look at the
Well,
money
that's
people
what
spend
the
for the day.
American
You
dream.
were born 45 years ago. You were born 50 years ago on this day. Well, everyone around me go spend money on me today. That
Yeah.
that keep, they keep us, we work, we make money, and then there's reasons to go spend it over and over and over every month,
Well,
especially
that's
when you have kids. You
economics.
notice it. Well, hold on. When you have kids, you really notice it, because then you really got to take part in the goddamn holidays, because you don't want to be the only fucking parent who's like the conspiracy theorist who's like, they just want us to spend our fucking money on bullshit we don't need today. I got to go
I could
buy a
just
bunch of heart shit and put it in a
I could see
basket on
you
the table.
wearing like you're taking
Oh,
your
it's,
daughter to
wait,
school.
it's
You got one of
Easter.
those foil hats on.
Hey, it's Easter time. What's Easter? I don't know. A fucking bunny laying eggs and shit. Let's go buy a bunch of fucking pastel colored shit. You know, let's go spend a bunch of money on that shit. You know, oh, wait a minute, Easter's over. Hold on a minute. It's St. Patrick's Day. We got to go out and buy green beer and wear green shit today. Go spend our money this goddamn day. You know,
or you get pinched and shit. People pinch you.
I'm gonna get pinched. Better go spend my money on some green. Oh, I don't have a green shirt. Neither do my 2 daughters. Oh, goddamn it. I got to go buy 3 green outfits. You know, think about that. It's just generating fucking. And then there's Christmas where people fucking use credit cards to buy a bunch of shit that nobody around them wants, you know. And there's even pressure, like
the next day, isn't it? That's the biggest returns day. Like everyone returns all the shit people gave them.
yeah. People return shit. And then there's people paying off their credit card until next Christmas, you know. And what is Christmas anyway? What the fuck is it? You know, are you really celebrating it, or what are we doing here? But think about the money generated from that. And I believe that shit's all placed in line to have us spending our money. You know,
what are the conspiracies inside jiu-jitsu? Like, who's keeping us from advancing? Who's not promoting us? Why, you know, like,
I don't know if that, well, maybe jiu-jitsu is like a really pure form, you know. I don't know if there's, I don't think,
I don't know,
you know, but, you know, that'd be a good episode, man, you know, because yeah, man, it's just,
I hope that this episode created contrast, right?
Yeah.
And that episode would too. Well, it's a contrast, right? Ask better questions, live into better questions, and your life will change, right? That's all we're presenting in this episode. This was a passionate episode. It wasn't detail oriented towards, a sweep in jiu-jitsu or anything. And it's never going to be that way on this podcast. It's more of just sharing the impact jiu-jitsu has. It's not about like us trying to instruct people on how to, perform a sweep from half guard. Like I said, in the last episode, I was trying to explain it to a white belt, and I'm like, dude, I'm probably doing more harm than good here. I kept looking at my professor like, you want to help me here? I'm confusing this poor kid, And so we're not trying to do that, but we are trying to expand the conversation on the mats, right? After you get done rolling, you're sitting together, you're covered in sweat, you're exhausted, your brain is actually functioning well because you exercised and you're in a good state of mind, because you don't have like a lazy, unexercised mind is a bad mind to work with, because it's gonna take you some dark places. You work your ass off, you get your ass beat for a while in jiu-jitsu, you go sit on the mat with someone, you start talking about some amazing, impactful things in your life, things that you love, things that make you happy, things that you're grateful for. That's the kind of conversations you have after your rolls. And that's what this podcast is. We're talking about some things. So if this brought up some, challenges or some conspiracies for you, share them with us, send us a rating or review, or send us a DM, and hit us up and let us know, and we'll keep this rolling. This was fun. We'll definitely have a conspiracy fucking episode though.
Yeah, we'll have to do that, man. That'll be good. We'll find somebody who we can talk to.
There's got to be someone that would love it.
Yeah. So
someone that loves it like you, dude. It's so funny when you send me stuff, dude. I'm like laughing. I'm like, this is awesome. Because me and Jackson, we don't see things everything eye to eye at all. And I think that's one of the most valuable things about our friendship and our brothership. It's like, hey, we're in this together, regardless of like our differing views. That makes us better, not worse. That's contrast in my life that I
big time contrast. I don't believe shit that I see in the media, and William believes everything. It's beautiful. We can sit and talk about it. So anyhow, I think William has a call in a minute here, so we got to get going. Be careful out there, because the Delta strain of COVID-19 is starting to attack here in California.
We have to limit our podcast because of that.
And the people who are vaccinated are spreading it. So, it's all fucking bullshit to me. But the kids got to fucking wear their mask in school next year, which I don't like, So anyhow, that's a whole nother topic. But anyhow,
the COVID word. So now we're gonna have to like label our podcast as like CDC guideline.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna disappear soon,
And then I'll really believe conspiracies. Like, man, Jackson's gone.
Yeah, man.
He didn't show up for our conspiracy episode. Something must be happening.
Throughout the years, bro, all the truth speakers get fucking killed. It's the truth. Why? Because they fucking outside of the narrative, man. But
to be continued.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a good call. That was a good episode. We'll be here next week for episode 22. Maybe we can get Dion. We'll have a guest next week. Hit us up, soulrollers_JJ. And just keep training and working on yourself and asking yourself, what do you want in life? And answer that question repeatedly and create the life that you want, man. And I think we're good.
Well done.
Okay.
Talk to you, William.
Have a good week, man. Talk to you later. All right. Love you, man. Peace.
Bye.